feminist, a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes.
You must not know what feminism means, because a feminist is you're a feminist.
We shouldn't have a bunch of politicians, a majority of whom are men, making healthcare decisions on behalf of women.
That fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating.
I'm not a sexist, but I'm not a feminist. They think there's this fuzzy middle ground. There's no fuzzy middle ground. You either believe that women are people or you don't.
And education is the power for women. And that's why the terrorists are afraid of education. They do not want women to get education because then women would become more powerful.
As a man, am I allowed to be a feminist?
Do you believe that women should have equal rights to men and that we should fight for those rights?
Sure.
Great, then you're a feminist.
I believe in feminism. I believe in feminism because I know that more than one person will roll their eyes at this declaration. I believe in feminism because of every person that asks me, with a mixture of shock and repulsion, why I would ever want to go to an all-women's school. I believe in feminism because as a child, I was constantly told that I was too bossy, and that I should behave more like a young lady. I believe in feminism because of the overused trope of the bra-burning, butch lesbian, man-hating feminist that to some people still exists as fact. I believe in feminism because of every girl that is taught that her body is something indecent and worthy of shame. I believe in feminism because of the countless young girls around the world who are killed for being born the weaker sex. Girls who are married off at the same age I was learning multiplication tables. Girls who are risking their lives every day just to earn an education that we all take for granted. I believe in feminism because I believe in the political, social, and economic equality of the sexes. I never had one great feminist epiphany. Rather, it was years of microaggressions I witnessed against the women around me that propelled me to this belief. I honestly can't understand how anyone could say that they are not a feminist. The idea that this belief is one that is not universally felt simply doesn't compute. I suppose I could blame my mother for this. She was a single mom and is by far one of the strongest and most empowered women I have ever met. She instilled in me the belief that I could do and be anything that I wanted to be. However, this was not something felt by every adult I encountered. I can recall elementary school teachers chastising me for speaking out of turn to answer questions while my male peers joked loudly beside me. I remember one instance of a group of boys, 3 or 4 of them, all teasing me to the point of tears about a grade I had made on a test. I lashed out at them, telling them to shut up, and instead of my teacher punishing the boys for their acts of bullying, she got on to me for using such offensive language. I remember later that school year, a different boy wouldn't stop giving me a hard time at lunch, and although I tried to ignore him, eventually I'd had enough, and I stormed out of the cafeteria. When a teacher finally came to figure out what had happened, she told me that I had overreacted to nearly 20 minutes of harassment. When I was 17, my theater director told me and another girl that we were too abrasive and should work on our leadership skills. At first I thought this over, and tried to figure out ways in which I could improve, because this was a man I had respected for years. But once I realized that the older boys in the group, who were far more controlling than either of us, boys who the majority of the group dreaded working with due to their arrogant natures, had never received the same talk, I was livid. I tried to figure out any other alternate explanation, but knew after talking to my friend about her same talk that it all boiled down to one thing. We were too aggressive for female leaders. But here's the issue. I'm sick and tired of having to explain myself. I'm sick and tired of how often this movement is warped and twisted into something it's not, and of having to explain to people that feminism is not a movement to oppress men, but rather one to relieve them, as well as women, of the constrictions of gender norms. I'm sick and tired of listening to people insist to me that rape culture is a myth and that I'm just being too sensitive. I'm sick and tired of being viewed as some angsty teenage girl, and of being told that I don't know what I'm talking about and that feminism is dead. Honestly, I'm just angry that this is still an issue, still a topic for debate. I'm angry at the other women who do nothing to help in this issue and continue to tear down their fellow women rather than help them. Feminism should anger people, but in my experience, most people are getting angry for the wrong reasons. I am outraged that in this day and age, women are still not viewed universally as equal. Yes, progress has been made, but there is so much more work to be done. I understand that privilege can so easily mask the suffering of others, but I believe that it is my responsibility to utilize this privilege to help those that are not as lucky. I will not be satisfied until these acts of oppression become outliers and rarities, rather than the seemingly accepted norm. It is impossible to become enlightened and not to be angered. After all, the truth will set you free, but it will piss you off first.